Secretary of State Mike Pompeo has just released an official statement from his office claiming a reporter who's accused the secretary of shouting at her and demanding she point out Ukraine on a map is lying. Not about the fact that he yelled at her or questioned her intelligence, but instead about the fact that his comments were supposed to be off the record. First, I want to play for you the interview that upset Secretary Pompeo so much.
People who work for you in your department, people who have resigned from this department under your leadership, saying you should stand up for the diplomats who work here.
I don't know who these unnamed sources are you're referring to. I can tell you this.
These are not unnamed sources. This is your senior advisor, Michael McKinley, a career Foreign Service officer with 4 decades experience, who testified under oath that he resigned in part due to the failure of the State Department to offer support to Foreign Service employees caught up in the impeachment inquiry on Ukraine.
Yeah, I'm not going to comment on things that Mr. McKinley may have said. I'll say only this. I have defended every State Department official. We've built a great team. The team that works here is doing amazing work
where
around
have you
the world.
defended Marie Yovanovitch?
I've defended every single person on this team. I've done what's right for every single person on this team. Can you point me toward
your remarks where you have defended Marie Yovanovitch?
I've said all I'm going to say today. Thank you.
Now here is NPR's Mary Louise Kelly explaining what happened after she turned her recorder off.
I was taken to the secretary's private living room where he was waiting and where he shouted at me for about the same amount of time as the interview itself had lasted. He was not happy to have been questioned about Ukraine. He asked, "Do you think Americans care about Ukraine?" He used the F word in that sentence and many others. He asked if I could find Ukraine on a map. I said yes. He called out for his aides to bring him a map of the world with no rating, no countries marked. I pointed to Ukraine. He put the map away. He said, "People will hear about this." And then he turned and said he had things to do. And I thanked him again for his time and left.
White House correspondent Jeremy Diamond is live at the White House. Jeremy, what part of the account is Secretary Pompeo denying?
Anderson, he's certainly not denying the substance of the conversation that he had with that NPR reporter. He's not denying the F-bombs. He's not denying the fact that he berated her over an interview where she's asking some pretty legitimate questions. Here is what the Secretary of State is saying, though, in a statement. NPR reporter Mary Louise Kelly lied to me twice. First last month in setting up our interview, and then again yesterday in agreeing to have our post-interview conversation off the record. It is shameful that this reporter chose to violate the basic rules of journalism and decency. This is another example of how unhinged the media has become in its quest to hurt President Trump and this administration. It is no wonder that the American people distrust many in the media when they so consistently demonstrate their agenda and their absence of integrity. He also adds it is worth noting that Bangladesh is not Ukraine. Now, putting aside that Bangladesh part for a second here, Anderson, that reporter, Mary Louise Kelly, said that the aide who ushered her in to meet with Pompeo after the interview was over did not tell her that that portion of the meeting would be off the record, and she said that she would not have agreed to a meeting had it been stated to her that it was off the record. Now, as for that part about the map there, look, Mary Louise Kelly is a veteran national security reporter for NPR. She has a master's degree in European studies, and if you look at the map there, you can see Bangladesh, obviously, not anywhere near where Ukraine is. And certainly Mary Louise Kelly, who covers these issues, who has, again, that master's degree from Cambridge University in European Studies, would certainly know where it is. And of course, Pompeo is not directly accusing her of saying that she pointed to that. He's simply adding that at the end of this statement. But clearly, the Secretary of State not willing to shy away from this pretty petty squabble. Anderson?
Yeah, it's interesting that he added the Bangladesh thing at the end, because as you said, he's not saying that she pointed to Bangladesh, which obviously, I mean, even if she was to make a mistake, it wouldn't be pointing to Bangladesh as Ukraine. It would be something in kind of Eastern Europe you might get wrong. So he's not saying that she did that. It just seems kind of like a catty thing to do at the end to kind of suggest that's what she did without actually even suggesting, without actually saying it's what she did.
This is not the first time that we have seen Secretary Pompeo have some pretty contentious exchanges with the news media. You'll remember he accused a local reporter of parroting DNC talking points when she was also asking him legitimate questions about Ukraine and about the matters at the heart of President Trump's impeachment. I think, Anderson, this really falls in the audience of one strategy that we see from many members of this administration, including the Secretary of State here, that ultimately all that matters is that he's pleasing President Trump, particularly when it relates to these contentious exchanges with the media.
Yeah, Jeremy Diamond, thanks very much. Back now with our legal team here. Jeff, it's interesting the outrage over that he's claiming a reporter lied to him. I mean, I've yet to hear him say anything about the numerous lies that his boss has told and repeatedly told. But this notion that it was off the record. I mean, any experienced reporter, if something's actually off the record, it's going to be off the record. But if some person didn't tell her it's off the record.
It reminds me a little of what went on at the impeachment trial yesterday, where Manager Schiff, Congressman Schiff, quoted that line.
The CBS News report about the heads on a pike.
Heads on a pike. And several Republican senators got the vapors. How could someone say something so outrageous? This morning,
they were offended. Apparently, there was more reporting about it today. They were offended that the suggestion that the senators would be intimidated by President Trump.
Right. And at the same time, the president is tweeting, calling Democrats sickos, and, all of the insults that we're used to hearing from President Trump on a daily or multiple times a day basis. No Democrat claims that they're so offended that they can't, go on with their work. I mean, I just think one of the most distasteful parts of Washington is sort of the phony mock outrage. That Secretary Pompeo is so horrified by Mary Louise Kelly, this veteran, wonderful journalist, and the same thing in Congress, in the Senate, that these senators couldn't bear to hear Adam Schiff say a nasty thing.
I do love that he has a map that has no names on it, just at the ready.
You think it's from a coloring book?
I mean, it is clearly, this must be a go-to how to demean your staff by asking them to point out things. I actually might try that. It's actually
just as long as I don't have to do Eastern Europe.
One other thing that this highlights, though, is Secretary Pompeo, of course, is one of the witnesses that people are